Hi everyone, and welcome to our video on solving trig equations where we're finding these angles between 0 and 180 degrees. Now, we'll go a lot further into solving trig equations later. So they get more difficult, and they also put different restrictions on it. So I'm underlining the 0 to 180 right now because that's a type of restriction they're putting on our problem. So we'll see that when we start to try to answer. Okay, and then we'll satisfy the given equations, round answer to one decimal place. Okay, so let's solve this. Okay, so we're using the inverse trig property where we can say our cosine theta equals 2/3 means instantly using the inverse trig property that cosine inverse of that 2/3 should equal the angle. So it's just a rearrangement. And then we'll plug that into the calculator. So I have Desmos ready. So I'm going to do function cosine inverse 2 divided by 3. Okay, so there's our answer there. And we get 48.19. 48.19. Oh, it said one decimal, so 48.2. Okay, so our theta is about 48.2 degrees. Okay, and I boxed it. Now, let me box this too. So this again, this is an exact value. In case we can't use a calculator, that's as far as we would have been able to get. And then this is the approximation that they wanted. Now let's go back and break this down one more time because they put this restriction on it. So they're saying find all angles. So there might be more than one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my unit circle, and I'm going to highlight in green what they're saying. So here's 0 degrees, and then here's 180 degrees. So they're saying our answer should be in there, or maybe there's multiple answers. All right, let's go back to what that 2/3 stands for. Let's mark it in. Let's do pink. So this 2/3 in this problem, remember cosine of theta is connected to x. So this is an x coordinate on the unit circle. And so 2/3 as an x coordinate maybe is about here. And then we could find the y coordinate, but I'm just going to leave it blank. And the other place it could have been where I have a 2/3 x coordinate would have been down here. So it looks like, oh, this bottom one is not in the green range. So that means we don't care about it. Okay, so that means this was the only answer. Okay, so we got it. So that's the only answer. So this one not in the range. So we don't have to worry about it. Okay, so you can see if they said between 0 to 360, we might have something to worry about, which is down the road. Okay, so for now, we're going to stop that cosine one right there. All right, let's see the sine one though. Okay, so the sine, here's another way to solve these. So I use the inverse property. Let's rewrite it. I'm going to leave a little bit of space though. So say sine of theta equals, and then leave some space, 4/5. So a big space there. The other way that we can solve these problems is to use the sine, whatever the trig function is, use its inverse on both the left and right side. Like that. And then just put the parentheses around it. Because what that does is we assume that this is defined on the left, and the sine inverse and sine will just cancel each other out, leaving us with theta. And then the right side is our exact value answer. So again, this is an exact value or sorta on this problem. Okay, so this one is better for us to get that decimal approximation. Okay, so notice this is the same way. Again, if we had used the inverse property would have said, hey, do sine inverse, put the 4/5 with it, and then have it equal to theta by itself, which is the same thing as what we have here, just written, rearranged differently. Okay, but let's get the answer in the calculator. Okay, so sine inverse of 4/5. Okay, so still Desmos sine inverse 4 divided by 5. And we get 53.1. Okay, so we get 53.1 degrees. Okay, but let's go back to the same thing that we did on the first problem. We said, well, they said that there should be maybe multiple answers. It said all angles, so there might be more than one. And I'm just highlighting in green, that 0 to 180 that they're talking about. So there's 0 to 180. And then we can go back just like we did on the first one, where we have sine of theta. We're saying, well, that's a y coordinate. So y coordinate of 4/5, somewhere maybe about there. So who cares about the x coordinate? Again, we could find it, but let's just mark that. And then we can say, well, where else is there 4/5 as a y coordinate? Well, there is one right here too. Okay, so what we just found was this angle, the 53.1 degrees. But we can see there's another angle that we want. Okay, so let's mark that in blue. We want this angle as well. Okay, well, to get it, it's not too bad. What we can do, let's highlight. So I'm going to highlight the green. You can maybe see it a little bit. So this is 180 degrees right here, like that. And let me go back to pink. This portion from the 180 matches the 53.1. Okay, so ignoring signs, we would say, oh, that's also 53.1 degrees because it puts it at the same height on the unit circle. So it looks like what we can do is take the whole green section. Okay, so this is what we have to do pretty much every time, and it's not that bad once we get used to it. So the second theta, so I'm going to call that theta 1. Let's get theta 2 set up. So theta 2, again, from 0 to 180 is the green, so it would be 180 minus this pink one, which is the same as theta 1. That would equal the blue segment. There's theta 2 in the blue. Okay, so 180 minus the pink would leave just the blue. Okay, so that means our second answer here is 180 degrees minus 53.1, and whatever that is. Okay, so my mental math, let's not embarrass myself with doing bad mental math. So 180 minus 53.1 is 126.9. There we go. Okay, so these are the two answers with our decimal approximation. Now, this first one, that was an exact value, so this was still theta 1. So this is why the decimal's a little nicer in this case, but we could still take our rule and get theta 2, I'm just going to squeeze it right underneath, would have been 180 degrees minus this sine inverse of 4/5 if they did want an exact value answer. Sorry, it's a little messy, but they probably don't. Okay, so that's why I'm just squeezing it in. Okay, but that's it. If you do have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching.